Hi, all. Apologies for that. My computer has this nasty habit of, during this hour only, when I'm on Zoom, crashing and embarrassing me. Uh, Welcome to today's group conversation. My name is Lyle Kozloff. I am a support engineering manager out on the west side of the Americas, specifically Vancouver, Canada. I believe you're already taking a look at our slides, and I'm going to open up this doc and see if there's any questions. But I did want to note that these are group conversations, not group Q&As. So if you put something in this doc, I'm going to ask you a question first, and we're going to have a conversation. So let's get into it. All right. There's nothing yet. I can talk. I'm a good talker. In support right now, we are scaling a lot. We've made a lot of really great hires. You can check that out on slide number 3. There's a couple of folks that we're really wanting to get in, though, specifically a new manager up in America's North, LATAM manager, and another person for support operations. As we've kind of grown, we need more of a management layer, and we need more people actually working on the tools that make what we're doing possible. Mech, looks like you're typing some stuff.
Hey, so yeah, thanks for highlighting the reference architectures. It's minor nit that on slide 5, Scala can mean a very different context because it's a programming language. So just to set the context straight, this is the self-managed scalability working group that we're talking about.
That's probably a typo, yes. We're not talking about the Scala language. Thank you, Mech.
Okay, I will help fix the slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Everyone can contribute. Other things that are happening in support. I really should do a 2-up kind of situation here. What else is happening? Jason, is there anything you want to highlight?
Sorry that I put Scala instead of scalability. I was rushing through things and wasn't thinking about the coding language at all.
No. No need to apologize.
Loving the work that's happening from the scalability group. The 10K, 25K, 50K architecture stuff is amazing and is going to make life so much easier for so many people. We're doing a lot of work on improving our kind of support knowledge base. We're doing a lot of things, improving like the boot camps to have them be a little more test driven and also be more plentiful to cover a wider variety of subjects. I'm excited for some of the changes that are coming with that. Last day checked, like we're doing contribute 2020 prep. So we're trying to ensure who's going to be where at what times to ensure that there's no gaps in coverage for our customer base. Definitely do not want huge gaps where customers can't contact us. So we're doing we're preparing for that to figure out who's coming early, who's staying late, who's traveling when and where. We had a great conversation about how support can better advocate for our customers. That's a great issue to kind of read through and see all the back and forth and comments there. I loved the collaboration that happened there. I love the transparency that happened there. I thought that was awesome. And we're working on improving some of the UX stuff for like the support forms and the landing page to make them look prettier. I think that's the right terminology to use, right? Look prettier.
I think you got it. One of the things that's been on my mind is sort of in other group conversations, we talk about how, this piece of the product is viable or lovable. And that's not actually something we talk about a lot in support. I'm curious, sort of from the room, what does lovable support mean?
I just learned about this yesterday, actually, through my support onboarding. Hi, I'm Michael Lucier. I'm a new support agent on America's East. I guess lovable support would just mean something that's in its right place, but has room for improvement. So there's not like major features that need to be added, but there's things that can be kind of minorly improved. I'm not sure if I've nailed it there. I feel like yeah.
I feel like you have like sort of like the technical different definition correct, but like lovable to me is sort of like almost like it's an emotional response, and it's kind of it's. I was sort of reflecting this morning, sort of like, how did we get to a point where like, and I'm going to use product people, please don't blow me up. I'm going to say issue boards. I don't know if they're actually lovable, but how did we get to a point where people love issue boards? Like that doesn't seem like something you can love, but support, like we actually are humans that interact with other humans. And yeah.
It's a really good question. Yeah, so it's my, also I started on the 28th, so this is the start of my third week, so I might not be the best.
No, you are.
Okay.
Everyone can contribute.
Yeah. And nearly everyone in this room has probably interacted with some support team at some point. And you may or may not have had a lovable experience with support.
I mean, before being at GitLab, I did support for a really long time. And I think something that is very lovable about support oftentimes is making things so repeatable that you can help someone faster. And I think that when you're at that place, then you can kind of add these little bits that make them even, like it just gets nicer and nicer of an experience. And it's almost like you're being helped before you know it. And that's what I think is something that I like to do in support.
Like, picking that apart a little bit, it's sort of, I'm detecting a theme of speed. So like quick responses and sort of technical excellence, or at least like the ability to solve your problem.
Well, even further than that too, like someone says, I really want this, I'm making up an example, but like, I want my email changed. And you might be like, oh, well, here's this, we changed your email. And also there's this other thing you didn't even know about, like not even the technical proficiency, but almost like the other things they didn't even know because of your experience doing them.
Okay, so it's not just handling the problem that comes in, but handling the root problem or problems that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, those are things I really like.
Great, thank you. Is there any other ideas out there?
Exceeding expectations in as many ways as we can, maybe.
Okay. What kind of expectations do you think our customers have?
I think that's where the speed comes in. Speed, accuracy, pithy, and succinct.
Anybody not on support want to give a shot? I want to make this a conversation.
Hey, I'll chime in here. Matt Gonzalez, PM for the Manage Group, or Stage rather. So I think for me, one of the things that makes support lovable is when it's a very human interaction, so very conversational. Coming from an anti-abuse compliance background, having to have the harder conversations, our guiding principle was the best workflow is, or best compliance workflow is one that the customer doesn't know that they're going through. And I think the positive spin on that for the non-frictional stuff is when you don't realize that you're being walked through some sort of support process or step or something, some troubleshooting, fact-finding, when it's effortless, I think is lovable.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I had an interaction with my bank who's trying to be very, very hip and millennial, and they sent me, animated GIFs. Yes, I sent it the way that I said it that way on purpose. But it came across not like they were trying too hard to be human, so hard that they ended up being robotic, where it was just like, I feel like you're pandering to me.
Right. Yep. That's that slippery slope.
I have one, I think.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, or good evening. Hello. Well, one thought I have as far as being lovable, I think it's matching the customers or users base, say, not necessarily personality, but like their way of interacting. I don't know how to put that into words exactly. To give an example, I had a support call with someone where we had a lot of back and forth, and they were based in France, and so they were super chill and laid back, and we went from very technical English speak to switching to French, and them not even using the formal Vu with me, but straight up using the Tu with me, which is one way of being extremely friendly. So just because I think I was able to match their mode of communication, or like their level of comfort, and we ended up having a good experience, and they weren't too upset that we didn't have a working solution in the end, but they were chill with waiting until the end of the day for a script that would fix whatever issue they were, whatever broken feature they had to deal with.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sarah. I think that sort of matching is really important. I know that we have other customers on the other end of the spectrum who have gotten upset when we've replied with their first name, and they're like, no, I am Mr. So-and-so, please address me as such. And it's like, okay, I mean, yes, no problem. Other thoughts, questions, musings?
I think this is a two-way street where I think the support engineers should feel that the current process is lovable to make their lives easier, like just make our people happy on the process. But also, I think this question should be asked to the customer, like, how are you loving our support? I think how to capture this is that their issues are resolved in time, in a timely manner, and we can take out like whether the end goal is, do they need a new feature request or is it a bug? But as long as we find a resolution in a timely manner, I think that makes it lovable.
Yeah, and that resolution time, I mean, Mek, you and I have worked together in the development metrics working group, and that's something that we kind of were really tackling. Is support can take it to so far, but at some point it can end up in a feature request or in a bug request. And how do we make sure that as a support team, we're passing those things off to product and those are getting prioritized correctly? Like, how do we make sure that handoff works well? Is there anybody that has any thoughts sort of on that process?
I think that I think it's always really important to reach out to customers with anticipating that there'll be a large, maybe customer impacting issue. I think that's also it's kind of a hard thing at times. Maybe there's like Heartbleed a few years ago, the very huge bug that impacted a lot of people for security, and having that communication open and ready for them to discuss with us. I think that's important often.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
can I spin that around a little bit? Can I ask the support department, what is challenging right now? What are the hurdles to go over that you're concerned about?
support team.
So I think one of the bigger hurdles, especially when it comes to going from a support ticket to a feature request or bug report, is that transition of going from the ticket system to the issue. I've noticed a lot of customers or users seem hesitant to switch gears to, well, now we're going to a GitLab issue, as compared to we were having email support. So I think that's definitely a challenge, especially since they have this in their mind of, we're making this bug report or feature request because we no longer want to talk to you, which is not the case. But I feel like that is something a lot of them feel, is we're kind of deferring this off to dev null, where it's just never going to go anywhere again, and we just don't want to talk to you anymore about it. So I feel like that is something that's tricky and something support's constantly kind of challenged by. I don't have a solution for that either, by the way, so I'm open to any solutions for that one.
No, it is tricky. I mean, it can be disheartening for customers when, we say, this is the issue that's affecting you. And they're like, it's been open for 3 years and there's no comments on it. And it's like, well, you're right. You're right. Mohammed, you had something to say?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if Joshua is here on the call, but basically there's this thing that has been made together with the data team, which is actually showing the stats for basically customer interest in the issues. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we got in that sense. Like that definitely will help. I mean, it's still ongoing and all of that, but basically it helps you that when, you know, you are working with a customer, maybe it's I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, whatever, and then you realize you got into an issue and you can't fix it, then you can give it to them and, you know, look at these stats. This is what we are working on. This is what these customers requested actually. And these are basically the priorities. I think that's the direction we should go at. Also, it's not only that, but also like basically how good are we at messaging our like way we work in product, like when it comes to product, like how we are actually prioritizing everything. Because, you know, customer, when they, if it's a paying customer, if they are giving us a lot of money and when they say, you know, this is an issue, fix this for me, they expect us to jump, and that's not the way we work, right? So I think like messaging that's like the way we work in when it comes to prioritizing and all of that, like I think if we improve that, I think that will help us. And also like even in support, I have actually found people onboarding that actually are not so sure about it, which actually tells me that we don't have a like really direct way in the handbook or anywhere else where it is actually explained, like, you know, in a brief manner, like in a clear manner where it's actually super clear for anyone reading it. And if someone in GitLab who just joined is confused, I can't just imagine how much actually person who is looking at that maybe once in their lifetime will actually be confused about our like solutions. So I think that's the way for improvement for sure. I mean, that's how I feel it.
In the short term, Mohammed, like kind of what would you see, like what's the first smallest iteration we can do to address that?
I would need to look through all of the handbook pages that we have on this. I know that I've been looking at them, but it has been a while, so I'm not sure how updated are they at the moment. But I know, like, I literally saw questions from peers, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that people actually asked about this, which means it's not, you know, it doesn't stand out. As opposed to, for example, I can give actually a good example, which if we can get to there, should be quite cool. Like, for example, our product categories page is just awesome. So like when you open it, it's basically clear what we are working at. So for example, you go from the like GitLab homepage, and then you start realizing that we have like categories. Then you go on the product categories page, you see everything there. It's like a super huge amount of information. Of course, you can't read all of that, but you have it there. For prioritizing issues, I'm not sure if we have like straight way where someone who is a newcomer or someone who is actually not working with a product every day can get the information they need like super quickly. That's just my point.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting balance where we want our customers to understand how we work, but at the same time, some customers aren't interested. They don't want to participate in that way. They just want to go back to their lives. And I think in some cases we are pressing them, where it's sort of like, well, this is a new and better way of working. You can actually ping the PM that's responsible for this thing. You can actually have a conversation with the actual developers. And they're like, I don't want to. I just want my thing to be fixed now. That kind of, another thing though, that sort of was like going through my mind as you were speaking, Mohammed, was I think one of the things that I'm excited about that hasn't really in all stages or groups like been used, I think, to the maximum potential is our support stable counterparts. So most of our sections should have a support stable counterpart. There's, I think, probably 9 or so that don't yet. And I know that there are some sections where the support stable counterpart and the PM have a good relationship and it's working really well. And I know there's some where it's sort of like, what do we do with each other? And so, yeah, I'm excited sort of over the next while to explore that relationship a little bit more and define that a little bit more. I know it's been probably frustrating both for support folks and for product folks, sort of like, we have this thing, how do we make use of it? So Sarah and I are taking a look at that. Jason, do you want to say?
I was just going to say, in regards to the stable counterpart stuff, I think how Eric and the Geo team have been working together is amazing. I use them as a great example when I try to explain what a stable counterpart is to other people.
Well, folks, any other thoughts, questions?
I had a last one which just came in my head, and this might be a dumb one, but I'm going to say it anyways. There's a video game company called Bungie that does This Week in Bungie, and they kind of talk about the problems that they're working on for their video game. Is there anything like that with GitLab? Like kind of like a weekly wrap up that says like, hey, this is a really big thing that happened and this is what's going on this week. Like this is our big priority. Or do we really just point people to issues and say like, look at the minute details or every bit of information most of the time?
Is there any product folks that would like to speak to that? I'm not aware of anything, and I'm curious in a product as big as GitLab, what that would look like. I'd say the closest analogs we probably have would be our retrospectives and kickoff calls, where it's like, these are the things we're going to work on. These are the things that we did work on and what went well, what didn't.
I just had that thought just because I talking about, I believe it was Mohammed that brought it up, just like giving the insight to our customers about the big things that we're working on. And I really like that from them as someone who really enjoys their video game Destiny 2 is like, we have this big problem and they're talking about like, hey, we're addressing it. And it won't even be the solution, but it'll just tell you like, hey, we know it's a big issue, and just kind of summarizes all those little things into just a big blog post. So I just didn't know if we had something like that.
Yeah, no, it's a great thought. Well, folks, if there's nothing else, I had a great time. This felt like a conversation. So thank you to everybody who participated, both from support and from outside of support. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. And yeah, I'm sure we'll interact in the future because everybody talks to support. Take care, all.